Santa Claus is coming to Disney Springs, but as you know, Walt Disney World does not put anything in unless they take something out. And what did they take out? A Star Wars retail location, a giant one that sold some pretty expensive merchandise. We have to wonder, why are they getting rid of one of their quote-unquote most lucrative brands right before the holiday season? Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here is one of Santa's elves, Mr. Vash Guy. Vash, how are the toilages going for Christmas? Toilages, get it? Because you're toiling, but it also sounds like toy. I don't know. I made up a word. But speaking of made up words, Santa's Marketplace hosted by Bauduco, which we looked it up before we started the video. Bauduco is a foods brand. Here, this is from the Disney Springs website. And by the way, before you arrive, please make sure that you get there 60 minutes before your reservation. Visit with Santa and share a jolly moment together at his marketplace near Disney's Pin Traders before he takes flight on Christmas Eve. Look at that right there. There's Santa. There's a child meeting Santa, and there is a parent staring at a child meeting Santa. That's good. That's good. All ages event, and starting November 4th. So that is today as the recording of this video. Ooh, secret. We recorded it before we released it. Visit Santa's Marketplace hosted by Bauduco near Disney's Pin Traders. Once you arrive, there's a bunch of locations. You can get into the virtual queue using the My Disney Experience app. Shame on you if you just show up and want to meet Santa.
Oh, fun. Virtual queues to meet Santa Claus. This is fantastic. The Walt Disney World experience is definitely being enriched by all this.
I mean, I don't want to give him a hard time, but now that we're recording the video, I do think about it here. Okay, you have to be at Disney Springs in order to enter the virtual queue. So if you happen to be thinking about going to Disney Springs in order to do this, we were trying to figure out the monetary aspect for Disney at this point. That's where it is. Mm-hmm. You have to guarantee that you will be at Disney Springs for some period of time in order to do this, because if you have to get in line, even the virtual line, you have to be there to do it. One person in your party can request to join virtual queue for your entire party. They will receive a push notification when they're ready to return. A link to a digital entry code. Okay, I hope they make that fun. If you are unable to find your digital entry code, select the 3-line. Okay, so they really want you to have that entry code. Maximum party size of 10 people, virtual queue, subject to availability. Oh my. And they have other things that you could do while you are waiting. But look right here at the map. It's not really letting us zoom in, but we think we know what location this is right here. Star Wars Trading Post now closed at Disney Springs for Santa Claus meet and greet. This out of WDWNT and by Shannon Ace over there. The Star Wars Trading Post, one of 2 Star Wars gift shops at Disney Springs, has closed, seemingly permanently. There you go, right there. I've been in this shop, and more on that in a moment. It was a store in the marketplace section of Disney Springs. It offered various Star Wars items, including off-planet Star Wars Galaxy's Edge merchandise. It also offered the expensive lightsabers. All of the shop's signage has been removed from the building, and no indication that the store will reopen or whatever else the space might be used for. The web page for the store is still live, but it lists no operating hours for the foreseeable future. Well, let's check that out real quick and see. Yeah, it's still listed there. Sorry, Star Wars Trading Post is currently closed for Galactic supplies. Please visit Once Upon a Toy. So they're saying go to Once Upon a Toy. So they're saying there's multiple Star Wars locations here. And according to rumors, well, that's what's there. Let's see. There is another Star Wars location that I've been in this one as well. It's a very small, like a mall unit size location. With a smattering of merchandise over there near the Marvel store that's not allowed to be called a Marvel store for contract reasons. It's called Superhero Landing or something like that, which there you go. It's a teeny tiny little store that I'm pretty sure they'd kick you out if you did this in the store. But you know, Disney to each their own. Vash, why is it that Santa Claus is more popular than Luke Skywalker? Or is it Ray Palpatine that Santa Claus is more popular than?
Yeah, that's the question. And by the way, with all those restrictions, you think they were selling Gideon's Bakehouse cookies in there? With all the restrictions to get into Santa Claus, it's very, very funny. But look, it's very interesting, right? Because we've seen multiple stories of the parks specifically prioritizing other franchises over Star Wars. I think the most notable being The Lion King being prioritized over Star Wars for Disneyland Paris's third land or expansion for Disney Adventure World. Terrible name. But, that was a big story because they were supposed to get a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at one point. They are receiving Lion King instead. That was a big kind of shift in terms of the thinking and the confidence that Disney might have had for the Star Wars brand. In this way, Trading Post, at least downtown Disney at Disneyland, for a while there, obviously the parks weren't available to actually venture in. And at Disneyland, it was 412 days of these things being closed. Well, the parks themselves, at least Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, featured exclusive merchandise that you could only find in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Well, when the parks are closed and you don't have access to them, how do you necessarily sell that merchandise? Because it was exclusive to just that location. Well, that's when Disney kind of expanded their thinking and said, okay, let's have a dedicated retail location for specifically Star Wars Galaxy's Edge merchandise that could be found outside of the park so we can still move this stuff. And that's where the Trading Post actually came out of. Now, I believe Florida was a similar ordeal, but again, you had 2 lands worth of merchandise that you had to move. It makes sense that they would want to duplicate that effect, at least on the East Coast. This was also when the company was struggling financially and so forth, so it made a lot of sense that they would want to leverage that Star Wars brand. Well, you mentioned Ray Palpatine. We haven't seen a Star Wars film actually come out since 2019. We know of a couple in production. We'll have to see where they actually end up going. The Acolyte, didn't move a lot of merchandise. They didn't even, I don't think, produce anything for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge regarding the Acolyte, which was really profound. And so I do think the confidence of the Star Wars brand from the Walt Disney Company's perspective has been a little shaken in recent years.
Yeah, I'm going to point out there's a couple other problems here. Having been in that store, and by the way, I had a massive gift card that I didn't want to give Disney any money, and I literally went through that store trying to find something that I wanted to buy that I felt like I could use, and I wasn't even going to have to pay any of my actual money on it. The only opportunity cost would have been not spending that money elsewhere. And I'm the kind of person, I love Star Wars. I really do, which is why I naturally am not a big fan of Star Wars. For those of you who don't understand what I mean by that, we can explain it more later. But I do want to point out the Galactic Star Cruiser merchandise from the failed Galactic Star Cruiser. That is, I believe this is one of the pieces from that, still available at disneystore.com. But if you go to the kind of stuff that is available in the trading outpost, this is Mickey Blog, which is a website that covers all kinds of Disney stuff. But Angela Sorensen here on April 29th of 2024, this is a similar location, if not the same location. Yes, this is the Disney Springs location. If you look in here, this is the kind of merchandise that they offer. Looking at it, here's one that says, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away," in a kind of a soft script with a couple of TIE fighters floating through sparkles and things like that. "Rule the Galaxy," again, written in cursive here, asymmetrical. If you look, it says "A galaxy far, far away" on the inside of that collar. The same one here, a tie up right here. This one says, "May the Force be with you." And I actually found this quite hilarious. If you look at this shirt right here, it says "Beep Boop." Let's see if yep. They've got it a lot closer right here. That's a more incendiary phrase than we were expecting out of Lucasfilm these days.
This is a message for J3PO. Please pick up this shirt, give it to Gina. That'll be fantastic.
Well, if he can find it. Apparently, they've closed the only store that sells it.
That's true.
This was not the merchandise that was there when I went to the Star Wars Trading Post the last time, but it was in this wheelhouse of like, it technically is Star Wars merch, but it was mostly items that would appeal to a more feminine demographic here, or as most people who aren't trying to muddy words would say, it's girl stuff, which Star Wars, I'm going to say it, is a boys brand. So Why are they trying to bend over backwards to try to sell merchandise to girls for a brand that has been custom made since the 1980s to sell toys to boys and, 30, 40, 50-year-old men who love Star Wars? So it's not a shock to me that they would close down a location like this.
Yeah.
And especially as I wander through there and I struggle to find something, I almost picked up a Sheev Palpatine lightsaber. That was the closest I would have gotten, and I would still had plenty of room on that gift card. I didn't do it though, because I couldn't stomach doing that. I'd rather buy a Lego kit. By the way, the Lego kits actually had a lot more original trilogy stuff, because guess what? Lego knows how to make money, whereas apparently Disney does not. I'm not harshing Disney for putting in a free Santa Claus location at the parks. It's not really a problem. Oh, sorry, at Disney Springs. But the fact that they are willing to take out what should be a pillar brand in order to do it, it gives me pause on whether or not they spent that $4 billion to buy Lucasfilm wisely.
Well, I think it was a wise investment. It's just, what do you do after you actually make that purchase, I think is the critical thing here. It's interesting that you bring up Lego, Jonas, because we know that the Walt Disney Company, and at least when examining Disney Springs and the kind of the merchandising mix and so forth, the retail mix of their stores versus outside proprietors who've set up shop in that area, that their stores were actually not performing as well as their other proprietors in the space, that they were actually sending people in order to examine why that may have been the case. So this Disney Springs issue of replacing a retail location with an experience like this, it doesn't just speak to Star Wars, but it speaks to a larger issue that might actually be impacting not only Disney Springs, but the Walt Disney Company, because we know that retail sales, at least at the parks, are down from years past in a way that they really haven't recovered since 2020.
I totally agree. Whatever happened in 2020, and a lot of things happened in 2020. So yes, I know what happened in 2020. Whatever happened to entertainment brands and people's relationship to those entertainment brands in 2020, they have not recovered from that. I think there was an eye-opening from the people who consumed the product, and there was maybe even a shutting of eyes from the people who made that product. They were so confident they were going to do. I would love to know how long it would take for these companies to have the whiplash that they're having now, how long it would have taken had 2020 not happened the way that it happened. But of course, we don't want to linger too long on that. Let's throw this to our commenters. Are you going to be visiting Santa Claus over there at Disney Springs? I'm going to tell you this: free Santa Claus visit, that's for kids, is a great thing. That's nothing to be ashamed of for Disney, and I'm not sad for them to lose access to all of this girly Star Wars merch. If girls were actually buying that Star Wars merch, which, by the way, doesn't seem like they're doing that. Of course, like this video if you like this video, and we're going to be talking about this kind of stuff on That Park Place from now until the foreseeable future. And it's a little early to say this, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that stuff. And please consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.